Good evening. So today I slept most of the day, which is a good. First of all, because I need to sleep, and second, because there are advantages for walking during the night, especially when I'm under arrest and I don't I do not depend on anybody for this walk. And there are many other advantages, mostly the fact that there are less. There are many. Well, albeit, there is no shortage of nocturnal animals in Israel, and mostly of the worst type. Still, most vermins and insects, are in Israel, at least in Israel, are active during the day, and by volume, for sure, and that the vermins and insects are one of my main concerns. They are never ending. This place is like you will not believe how many are there. So yes, it's not the nighttime. Do not eliminate them, of course, and you can hear them. Even if when I record videos during the night, there are quite a bit of insect and vermin activity, and also larger, mammal predators. Sometimes even breaking into this door. Yes, not only vermin and insects, but so. You cannot be, you are never shielded from like the predatory animals and the vermin and insects, but they do reduce their activity. So after I eat, we finish to it, I will continue with my walk. Of course, it should be said that the understanding of the bicycle mechanism or the riding mechanism allows me now to greatly experiment, and also to, of course, after experimentation, to actually put it in production, as they say, to actually use it on a permanent basis. The symbolic art, and specifically the constructions of the symbolic art that are in my room, which is, almost everything right now, because I'm under arrest, and this is everything that I have, but specifically, for the purpose of how to paint, how to construct your own room. And I've done it I'm doing it for 2 years now, so it's not new at all. But I missed a key component of this understanding, because the riding mechanism was so elusive, because no one ever told me about it, and because and this is unbelievable crime against humanity, and people abroad know about it, but they don't care. Basically, it means that every piece of shit in Israel can infect me with diseases, remotely, without even touching me at all, and drain energy for me in order to, robots for me in order to clean its body and prolong his life. And they do it all the time. And the people that do it the most are the people that initiate contact with me. And this includes officers, of the law, and judges, because I'm always under some kind of perpetual trial for, nobody knows even why. I have never done anything in my life, but I'm always in part of legal proceedings that are never ending, because these people are the lawyers, the judges, the police. They are the ones that are initiating this mechanism the most. And this is a crime against humanity without precedent in the history of humans. And the thought that the state of Israel will be punished for this crime is ridiculous. They will most certainly not punish for this crime, not a single one of them. The world will be punished for this crime. Earth will be punished for this crime. Of course, we will deal with any insect or vermin that is hampering our life, and we are doing it right now. And we have many ways to do it. And they are irrational. If they had, the whole agenda is, for many years, is predicated on the not only belief, but positive knowledge that I possess superpowers, amazing ones, and that the way to treat me is by putting me in prison all my life, obscuring this for me completely, lying to me all my life, and trying to manipulate me using hypnosis or rapport creation mechanism, or all sort of ideas that I don't know. I think I'm related to pop psychology of the early 20th century. I don't know, things from young adult magazines from the 1920s, I guess, is the origin of this kind of things. But I mean, this is 90% of what they do. Yeah, speaking on the phone, so I will like hear what they say and imitate it, because presumably I'm a robot that only imitates other people, even though I've already shown them like repeatedly and in kind of a scientific way why the whole tenets of physics are wrong, and also biology and history and astronomy. And I mean, what was done in this room alone, since April, it was like many Nobel Prizes. But still, presumably the person that is giving them this information is also a robot that imitates what the pedophile scumbags that are in this apartment are saying near him when they speak on the phone. For some reason, like he's both a god and a cockroach at the same time. And this is the Israeli agenda. That this creature is both God, we need him to be God because we want to abuse him, and he's also a cockroach that doesn't understand anything at all from his life because he's a cockroach, because we need him to be a cockroach. But how can a cockroach and a God be the same creature? It's an amazing question. It's an amazing question. And of course, the answer to this question was given several times in the history of Israel, like the modern state of Israel. It's not an answer the question that was never answered. And these days it will be answered again. The answer, of course, is annihilation of the intelligence services of Israel. To the last one. It happened several times, not only once. This is the answer to the question, how can God be a cockroach? No more Shabak, no more Mossad. Nada. It didn't happen only once in the history of Israel. It happened several times. And it will happen, and it's happening now again, and it will soon be done. Because this is the answer to the question, how can God be a cockroach? No more Shabak and no more Mossad, and no more large part of the top of the IDF. This is the answer. And they have already, and the interesting stuff is not only why they ask the question, is why they ask it repeatedly when they've already given the answer. So, during the 1980s, and before that, during the 1960s. So they have already received the answer twice. Why do they need a third time? But they do need a third time. They need a third time. So they are asking the question again, how can God be a cockroach? And of course the answer will be the same as it was given in the 1980s and the 1960s. It's the same answer. But of course this is not a punishment to the crime. This is the answer to the question that they ask. The punishment is for humanity. Humanity will be punished for what they do to me. You all over the world. At best, you're not part. You do not abuse me directly, even though of course many do. But the people that do, they will get the same answer to the question, because the Bastille mechanism doesn't understand what's the countries or states. It all relates to the question of of the existence of the robot in your body. Now you use it. This is it. It's quite a lot. When you don't know nothing about it and there is no public information about it, and you need to do all the research yourself. But it's not about flags. So people abroad that actually actively abusing me will get the same answer that the people in Israel are getting. And quite a bit of them already received it. During the 1980s. The 1980s was not only an Israeli catastrophe; it was an international one. I do not know to what scale, but certainly many people in the KGB and the CIA received the answer to the question, because many of them asked this question as well during the 1980s. I don't know how many of them, like 80% or 50%. I don't know. But I know that large part of the KGB and the CIA was annihilated during the 1980s as an answer to the question of how can God be a cockroach? But those that do not ask this question right now, but still watch from afar how these creatures abuse me to no end, will receive punishment. The punishment is not only asteroids that are already on the way. The punishment is also other things, among them, and most importantly, the full metal jacket that I still did not have time to paint, even though it's very important. At least not in its large form, just in the larva and the eggs and the pupa, but not in the large form, and not the queen. I need I need at least to draw two, like the social worker and the queen. And maybe also the male, but the male is not important, as you know, it's redundant. But for certain there will be like a large painting of the queen and a large painting of the social worker. But probably it will not be done today because we need to answer the question that is, how can God be a cockroach? And this will be the major theme of tonight and maybe also tomorrow, because it will take some time. But this will be the current theme. And after that, the answer we will get to deal with the whole world. The world that gives food and energy and everything that, it sustains these creatures in Israel. This is not an independent state. You know it very well. It's not an independent state since the 1980s. This is a territory of the United States of America, and its existence is supported, and it was always been supported by other countries. Not only because it relies on international trade. This is true to almost any modern entity, but because they do not manufacture anything at all in this place. This place does not manufacture anything, nothing at all. It's not even like in the United States that most of the actual manufacturing is done like in other countries, but they kind of manage the big companies, and they do the design and the high level design and high level management, which is also dubious, and of course it's kind of abuse. But in Israel it's not even that. It's still better than in Israel, and they don't do anything here. They don't do just nothing. No manufacturing, no design, no management, nothing. Only two things: military and noise. That's it. Nothing. So this place depends on other places for everything, including like food and energy. And of course, food and energy will be our main concern. Food will be, of course, the domain of the Full Metal Jacket. And you will soon rediscover phenomena that were widely known to humans throughout history, throughout the Neolithic history, until very, very lately, but in the last generation or two, they were completely forgotten. All over the world, and especially in the West, that they were forgotten since like in the post-war World War time. But before that, it was widely known, the phenomenon of famine. It was very well known throughout 12,000 years of Neolithic existence to all of your ancestors, but you just forgotten it completely, and you will rediscover it. Yes, including in the United States. By the way, it was known in the United States as late as the 1920s and the 1930s. People were hungry in the United States much recent than you actually think, but you will rediscover this phenomenon very, very soon. The phenomenon of no food. And by the way, in the 1920s, it was, at least to some extent, a large extent, not negligible one, it was initiated by a creature that is extremely similar to the creature that you will now face, but about 1,000th, like 1 divided by 1,000 time effective. And it was enough to cause hunger in the United States, which was already highly industrial. And there was hunger in the 1920s and 1930s. Not all over the world, the United States, but there were places where there was actual hunger. And this was done not only by this guy, this insect, but to a large part it was, as described in much of Grapes of Rust and many of your classic novels. It was partly because of an insect that is very similar to what you will now face, only that this one is about 1,000 stronger. And this is the fact that you already know, but still, I don't see an arm or a leg moving. No. Only mouses and tongues. But of course, when we discuss sustenance, it's not only food in our time. It's also energy, as we know. And it's actually very easy to cause an energy crisis in this world, because we don't need to deal with everything. So we could deal with everything, but we can limit ourselves only to the radioactive processed material, which it's not the majority of energy production, but eliminating it will be enough to cause electricity outage all over the world. And of course, you can say goodbye to your carriers, dear United States of America, and everybody can say goodbye to their submarines and many of the cruisers. Yes, that's the way it is. I don't know if someone, cares, but there will be no more serious navies in this world. Not that, it doesn't really matter. The important stuff will be the electricity outages all over the world. In some places more than others. like in France, it will be, I mean, France is done. In the United States, I mean, it's more like a distributed energy supply. I mean, they have like the advantage of being very competitive and distributed. So I mean, some parts will not be affected at all, and some parts will be, like in Arizona, will be devastated. But I mean, that's the main idea: removing the processed uranium and plutonium from this world. If you think it's not impossible, I would say that it was much more difficult to deal with the raw materials, and it was already being done, and you know it. So the processed material is so, I mean, it's just, I mean, no, it's a drop in an ocean, like I mean, relative to the amount of raw material that was actually already removed, and you know it. So it will be a piece of cake, and it will be done very soon, but probably not today, because we need to still answer the question of how can God be a cockroach, and a question that is still looming above us.